Okay, so good morning again, everybody. So thank you so much for joining the call today. And thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for joining us today on the call. So we have Mr. Mohammed from Just Will in collaboration with MetLife. Which will be talking about some topics today. Basically, what is a will? What happen if you pass away with no will? What can you expect if you have a registered will? And in terms of protecting your children, any appointing temporary or permanent guardian you have, and then about as well about power of attorney.
Totally.
Yeah, so that the topic we'll be talking about by Mr. Mohammed today. So maybe Mr. Mohammed, you can just introduce yourself to us, to all of us today, and then you can keep the floor and start the session with us, right? And just to add again on that, maybe if you all can mute yourself, and then in case of any question you can use the raised icon on Teams, and then we'll take up your question, right? Yeah, thank you so much. So I leave the floor for you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohini. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me loud and clear. And I'm also hoping you can see a copy of the presentation that is on the display. So first of all, I just want to thank both DHL and MetLife for allowing us to have this presentation and use your platform. The topic is called the importance of succession planning. Now, I like to call it succession planning in advance. Why am I saying in advance? Is because having a will, to me, is part of a jigsaw puzzle. And in order to complete the puzzle, it's very important you put all the pieces together. So for me, yes, the important document is the will, but in order to complete the picture, it is very important you put all the pieces together. So I'll be talking about exactly what happens when someone pass away, what happened to the bank accounts, the visas, the red tape in this country. I'll be touching on international law as well. Now, just for your reference, I do not know the laws of every country in the world. However, I can give you some information. However, please note, part of the process of cancelling the visa, especially when you're dealing with a death case, your embassy will be informed. So whatever happens in your home country, it's a different matter. So don't think for a moment they won't find out. They will find out. It's part of the process. So, like I said, why am I calling this presentation succession planning in advance? Is only because you need to take and act upon certain housekeeping tips I will be giving to you today. If you haven't, please keep a pen and paper handy so you can take notes on the distribution of the estate. Who gets what? I will be getting a bit technical, so it might be an idea if you write the shares down. Secondly, I will be at the end of the presentation, there is a form you can complete that you'll be able to request a copy of this presentation with some supporting documents that I'll give to you. So let's begin now. Uh, the presentation, just to give you a little history. Who are we? Who am I? So Just Wills, I joined them back in 1989. That will tell you roughly how old I am. So I set up in the UK originally and came to the UAE in 2005. We're the first company to set up. And as the name suggests, we are only into the will side. We are not getting involved in any other legal matter. Uh, Just for information, this session is being recorded. So if you cannot obviously attend the full session, please make sure you fill in the Google form and we will gladly send you the details with the attachment. So we're the first company in the UAE to set up, and as the name suggests, we only interjust wills, nothing else. We did get inquiries for many other legal issues. However, we just tend to focus on the wills front. So, what is a will? Now, a will is a legal document. It's also known as a testament. So, a will or a testament is the same document, just in different parts of the world. They call it will, some people call it testament, but it's the same thing. It's a legal document that coordinates the distribution of your estate after your death. Remember, it's after your death. What you do in your lifetime is a separate matter. The will only comes into effect when there is a death certificate, and what you do in your lifetime is up to you. So you get married, you have children, you're separated, you buy a property, you have a bank account, you own a company, you buy a car. Whatever you do in your lifetime, that's separate. The will works and covers what you own at the time of your demise. So we are looking at the time of death. What is your circumstances? And yes, it's very, very important that you actually keep updating the will as and when your circumstances changes. Now, remember one thing which is very important: estate is not limited to your property. Estate is what you own. So let's say if you have, for example, a property or a bank account or a locker account, you have jewelry, you have gratuity, which many people seem to overlook. And gratuity includes your life insurance, whatever you own at the time of your demise. That is part of your estate. So don't think estate is limited to property. Estate includes property, but it's not limited to property. A will allows you to communicate your wishes clearly and precisely, including appointing guardians for your children. You can also lay out your funeral wishes, and you can obviously you give information on how things should be dealt with post your death. Unlike a trust, a will is only activated upon your passing away. Remember, for a will to be activated, you need to have a death certificate. And the will can be revoked, cancelled, it can be amended, updated anytime. For us, a will is one of the most important legally binding documents you will ever draft in your lifetime. And our aim is to try and make this as simple as possible. Now, let's look at something quickly: Sharia compliant wills. Now, a Sharia compliant will can have two meanings. One is that you want the will as per Sharia law. So if you're a Muslim, you want a will as per Sharia law. That's one way of saying I want a Sharia compliant will. Or you can say, I don't want it according to Sharia law, which means, again, the people call it a Sharia compliant will. So for me, a Sharia compliant will can have two meanings. Now, one thing you must understand that according to Islamic law, you only have discretion over one third of your estate. Two-thirds have to follow Islamic law. But now, just due to a very recent change in the system, even Muslims can make a will for 100% of their money, their estate, and they can choose the beneficiaries and register the will anywhere they like. But I just want you to understand that as per Islamic law, you only have discretion over one third. I hope that makes sense. So just to recap, Sharia compliant wills can have two meanings. One, as per Sharia law. Two, not as per Sharia law. And the one as per Sharia law, you only have discretion over one third. However, due to a change in the system not long ago, you don't have to follow any law. You decide what you want, the court will accept it. Okay, Now, what happens if you pass away with no will? The first three boxes I've highlighted here, I want you to understand, even if there is a will or no will, I have no control. So let's look at these three boxes. This is where all the problem starts. Number one, bank accounts are blocked. Now, please bear in mind that when it comes to your bank accounts, in this part of the world, if you have a joint account with husband and wife, the moment the bank is informed of death, they will freeze the full account. So this is very important. Everyone need to understand that in this part of the world, joint accounts are for operational, not either or survivor. That this is a misconception many people are making. This is information, wrong information that everyone is passing on. Even banks themselves are getting confused. So let's take an example. Husband and wife have 100 dirham in the bank account. Now, if the husband passed away and the bank is informed, remember, the bank will only freeze the account if they are informed. So there's 100 dirham in the joint bank account. Bank is informed, the bank will block the 100 dirhams, not 50, 100. Now, for legal purposes, the wife owns 50 dirham, the husband owns 50 dirham, but the bank cannot block 50, they will block 100. Now, the bank will only block the account once they are notified. If they don't know, it's a different matter. But the moment they are informed, they will freeze the full account. So, what is important for you to understand is that the whole bank account is blocked, and they will block every account in the name of the deceased. And so going back to the bank accounts, I have no control. Even if there is a will, no will, I have no control. It's the matters between the family and the bank. So the bank is informed, they push the button, the account is blocked. Even if you take the will to the bank, they won't do anything. You still need a court order. That's why I want you to understand the whole process when you're dealing with these matters. So, number one, bank account is blocked. Why is it blocked? Two reasons. One, to clear all your debts and liabilities. And number two, make sure the money is distributed to the right people. The fact is, because it's a joint account, it doesn't mean that the money should go to your co-partner. Maybe you're separated. Maybe the money belongs to someone else, and we can give many, many scenarios. But what I want you to understand is that the bank accounts will be blocked the moment they are informed, and they're blocking the full account. So either survivor concept does not exist in the UAE. It may exist in other countries, but not the UAE. These are the problems that will start the moment when someone passes away. So, number two, visas being cancelled. Now, many people may not know this, but for the body to be repatriated, you have to cancel the visa of the deceased and the family visas as well. So for the body to leave, for the death certificate to be issued, you have to cancel all the dependent visas. So you imagine, first the bank accounts are blocked, the visas are cancelled. I can't help you with both of them. And to add insult to injury, as they say, your death certificate is also stamped from your embassy. So what's the problem with that? Like I told you, uh, the UAE, yes, they freeze bank accounts, but I don't want you to think that this is the only country that freezes bank accounts. If you go to Canada, South Africa, you go to the Philippines, you go to Italy, Germany, France, Spain. In fact, most of North Africa, we're looking at the GCC, most of the Middle East, and in countries like Kenya, Tanzania, they all freeze joint accounts. So if a Canadian national passes away in the UAE, not only his bank accounts are blocked locally, but due to the international process, are you dealing with the death certificate, the Canadian embassy here will send a message back to Canada and their accounts are blocked there as well. Now, these are the three major problems. I have no control whether there's a will or no will. In the beginning, I told you that the topic is called succession planning in advance. I have solutions to these problems. However, you need to act upon them now. So when I run these talks, presentations, I try to give everyone a heads up that these are the problems, these are the solutions, and that's why it's important you take this information and execute them as soon as you can. Now I want to go through a list of other problems that will happen. So local law is applied to the distribution of your estate. So what does that mean? Every country has a law. If you don't make a will, the law of the land will apply. So let's take the UK, for example. If you have assets in the UK and you pass away with no will, guess what? Your family will have to pay 40% tax on the money. Now you can say, wait a minute, I don't live in the UK. I don't have a British passport, but why is my family paying 40% tax? Well, the answer is simple, is because the asset is in that country and you did not draft a will. That's why it's important you need to understand. Every country has their law. The UAE is no different. So if the husband passed away, and if you want to write this down, get a pen and paper. If a husband passed away, what happens? You club all the shares together. When I say shares, I'm talking about everything he owns, club it together. So his gratuity, his bank balance, if he has a car, if he has savings, everything, club it together, including the property. Club everything together as 100 shares. So who gets what? Now, if the everything is in the husband's name, so if you take the bank account, if it's joint, then it's 100 dirham. So the wife keeps up 50 dirham, but the 50 dirham of the husband, club that together with everything else he owns as 100 shares. So what happens with the 100 shares? Well, the wife would take 12.5%. The parents, if they're alive, would take 16.66% each, and the balance, two shares to the son, one share to the daughter. I'll repeat that again. If the husband passed away, the wife would take 12.5% or 1/8, whichever way you look at it. The parents would take 16.66%, 1/6 each. The balance, two shares to the son, one share to the daughter. You may have noticed I didn't mention the uncles, the cousins, or brothers, because the grandfather's alive, the extended family does not step in. Now, if, for example, the grandparents are no more, you have wife and children, then the wife takes 12 and a half, the balance, two shares to the son, one share to the daughter. Now, assuming there's no son, the wife takes 12 and a half, the daughter takes 15%, so that's combined 62.5%, and the balance, two shares to the brother, one share to the sister. Now, coming to the wife, if she passes away, then club all her shares together as 100. Her parents would take 16.66 each. Her husband would take 25%, and the balance, two shares to the son, one share to the daughter. Look, I can go through the shares all day today, depending on your circumstances. All I want you to understand is that, respectfully, every country has their law. And when it comes to the distribution, if there is no will, the law of the land will be applied. And I'm not here to say this law is better or that law is better. I can give you faults in every law, every country in the world, but that's not what I'm here trying to tell everyone. I just want you to know that if you do not have a will, the law of the land will be applied. And once it's applied, there's nothing we can do. Again, succession planning in advance. We need to do everything today before something happens. So local law will be applied to the distribution of your estate. Now, when it comes to your end of service benefits, this is broken down into both gratuity and life assurance. Now, if I can please be blunt about something, if when it comes to life assurance, this should follow the beneficiary form that you should have completed. But in reality, people don't complete the forms. In reality, even if you complete it, you do not update the forms. So you imagine that today you are single, you fill in the form, you make your mother the beneficiary, for example, and then tomorrow you get married, and then you have children, then you pass away. But the original beneficiary form was going to your mother. So what does the employer do? So when it comes to your end of service benefits, even though it's broken down into gratuity versus the life insurance, gratuity follows the labor law, which means that has to go into the bank account of the employee. The life insurance will follow the beneficiary form. But when it comes to dealing with these matters, in my experience, the whole amount goes, what do you call it? The whole amount goes into the blocked bank account. So this is very, very important that you understand that the will covers everything. So when it comes to the complications and there isn't a will, then your end of service benefit, which is clubbed together, will end up going into the bank account of the employee. Now, you might be thinking, if the bank account is blocked, how can it receive money? A bank account can receive money, but you cannot take it out until you get a court order. Family arguments will arise. Now, what I want you to understand, and this is very, very important, everyone is fighting for the money. Everyone. And this happens in every country in the world. Suddenly, you realize your families who are the legal heirs, they will start showing their true colors. So when it comes to the estate, you have to be begging them to give the NOC. And like I told you, every country has a law. I'm not here to say which law is better, but family arguments is it's common in every country in the world. So even the children are not seen eye to eye. Even the mother and the children going against the mother, even the grandparents, even the uncles. Money is something that wakes up the devil in every person. And when it comes to the money matters, no one is seen eye to eye. So having no will means the law of the land being applied, the court is going to decide who the legal heirs are, and then everyone has to come together as a team to do with the execution. In reality, nobody comes as a team. Now, if you are separated, not divorced, you'd be surprised even the ex-partner will come up asking for their share. Now, you can argue as much as you like and tell the court that they were separated, they were going through a divorce, but there was no divorce. The court will say, well, if they weren't divorced, they are still legally married. And before you know it, even the court is giving them their share. Again, I'm not saying which law is better. You know, if I can just say something from my experience, people say the dead cannot speak. I disagree. The will is speaking, and the will detail everything to the court. So when people say the dead cannot speak, I disagree. The will is speaking, which means we have now clarity on the wishes of the deceased, which can be a double-edged sword because at that point, then the deceased is now dictating how his money is to be distributed. And certain people might feel like, wait a minute, I should be getting more, but the court will follow the will. Assets in your home country will be distributed according to the laws there. So please make no mistake, every country has their law. Children could end up receiving little or no share of the estate, and the control will be given to the wrong person. So remember one thing, even the shares are two shares to the son, one share to the daughter. The court decides who's looking after the money. And 8 out of 10 times, the court looks after the money because the family is not seen eye to eye on how who the trustee or the person looking after the money, the financial guardian, because the family is not agreeing, the court will say, you know what, we'll look after the money. And the age of maturity in this country is not 18, it's 21. If you ask me, it should be 25, but that's a different matter altogether. And in countries where inheritance tax is applicable, you could end up paying 40% off your estate. And also, you will be shocked and surprised when it comes to funeral arrangements. Families are even disagreeing in terms of the final rites. Should it be done locally, internationally? Should it be the person be buried or cremated? You know, you'll be shocked that people don't even talk about the funeral arrangements. Now, if you have a registered will, now please note, a registered will means registered in the court, not a handwritten document, not something you're bringing from your home country, not something you've typed up and you've got your manager to witness your signature. It's a document registered in one of the local courts. If you have a registered will, what can you expect? Number one, expedited distribution of your estate. So the court now knows who's getting what. And this is very, very important because when it comes to the estate and when it comes to dealing with the family, I'm telling you, they don't see eye to eye. Now, if you're having young children, you're lucky because the young children's not going to make problems. But if you have children matured, 20 plus, in the mid 20s, probably 30s, I can tell you you're going to have problems. You might be thinking, what, with the children? Believe me, when it comes to money, it'll wake up the devil in the person. So, number one, expedited distribution of your estate. Your wishes will be honored locally. So now, like I told you, even if you're a Muslim, you can make a will. So, doesn't matter on your religion now. Anyone can make a will. The estate and life policies will pass on to the right people. The will covers your end of service benefits, even something called workman compensation. I don't know if you have workman compensation within DHL, but this is AKA known as employer's liability. So if you are working and you have an accident, you're still covered. All your investments will pass on to the people of your choice. There'll be no family arguments. Well, there could be, but it makes no difference because the court is accepting the will. If you don't mind me saying, it's a double-edged sword. I had a case where the husband, he willed everything to the second wife, and the daughter from the first wife called me and said, how did my father will everything to my stepmother? Don't, according to the UAE law, any law, aren't I a legal heir? And I said, look, I'm sorry, your father willed everything to your stepmother, the second wife. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just following his instructions, and the court will follow his instructions. So she wasn't too happy, but like I said, it can be a double-edged sword. You can insert an exclusion clause, so you can block any ex-partners. If you have children from any previous relationship, so maybe you have children from the first wife and you married and you got children from the second wife, you can even include the children from the first wife into the will. You can leave a gift of money to a family member. So, for example, you are sponsoring your parents and you want that to continue after you're passing away. That can be included within the will. Nominating a local executor is very important. So let's say your family's based in your home country, instead of them coming to the UAE to deal with the execution, then what happens? somebody here in the UAE can go to the court and start the work. So this is very important because when I'm dealing with death cases, in fact, if I can just be frank and tell you, all the death cases I'm dealing with, majority, about 80–90%, there is no will. So I'm dealing with the red tape and the family politics. I can deal with the red tape of a country. I just can't deal with the family politics. So if your family is based in your home country and you have a will, you can nominate a local executor who will go to the court and deal with the execution. You can also leave a provision for a charity. So I know people are so busy working commitments, expenses throughout their lifetime. And when it comes to doing any charity, they don't have the time. So at least in the will, you can leave a small percentage or a small sum of money to a charity. This is your last chance. For me, why is it very important to have a will? Is protecting your children. So I know we've covered the financials, we've covered the your family circumstances, but if you have children, especially minor children, this is the reason why you should have a will. Now, about 10 years ago, I was involved in a case. It was very tragic that both the parents passed away in a car accident. The school, who obviously where the children were attending, did not know what to do. So it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to call. They don't know who to speak to. Finally, they had to call the police to come and take the children and put them into temporary custody so that they can deal with the guardianship. They located the grandparents from the home country. The whole process, unfortunately, took nearly 3 months to locate the family, to get all the paperwork, to apply for the visas, for the family to fly into the UAE, to collect the grandchildren. It took nearly 3 months. The point I'm trying to get to, if you have minor children, you should be appointing temporary guardians. Temporary are people living in the UAE. It could be work, it could be a work colleague, it could be someone at the school, could be a neighbor, a distant relative, just a friend, someone who can babysit the children, who can get to the scene quickly. This is why you need a will. For your reference, a will is the only document that allows you to legally appoint guardians to protect your children. So guardianship is in two parts. You have the temporary and the permanent. Temporary living in the UAE, who will get to the scene quickly. Don't appoint one or two, appoint 3 people, 4 people in level of preference. So you appoint A is not there, B is not there, C comes in. Permanent guardians could be a mother, father, brother, sister, wherever they are situated, whichever part of the world they are in, they will come. But before they get here, if you're having minor children attending school, you need to have temporary guardians. Temporary guardians are very important, and a will is the only legal binding document that allows you to appoint guardians. And more important, the will needs to be registered in the court, which many people are not doing. So, why a will? Well, number one, to protect your children. It's funny, people only think about property. You know, when somebody rings me and says, I bought a property, I need to make a will. The first question I asked them, have you got children? They said, yes. I said, that's when you should make a will. Why are you worried about your property? You're only worried about the financials? What about your children? So I do get very upset that people only focusing on money. Protecting your children, number one, is why you need a will, especially when you're living in a different country. Number two, uphold your wishes. And last but not least, ensuring that your estate is distributed as per your wishes. So this is why you need a will. Now, in the beginning, I told you a will only works when there is a death certificate. So let's take an example. You're brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma. Can a will work? So you imagine you're in the hospital, breathing oxygen. Doctor says he's 99% dead, but the machine is giving this person oxygen. Can a death certificate be issued? The answer is no. So why do you need a power of attorney? Power of attorney is there in case, God forbid, something like that happens. You can appoint, you as the principal, giving powers via the power of attorney to the attorney. So husband is basically saying to the wife, here's a power of attorney. The wife can run the show. Please note a power of attorney is a double-edged sword. I always recommend it, but someone tells me I don't trust my partner, then don't make a power of attorney. So a power of attorney is a very powerful document. I always recommend it, but I want you to understand that when a person passes away and there is a death certificate, then the power of attorney is null and void. The will comes out to be executed. So if you take a good example, a very bad example, I would say, the missing Malaysian airline MH370, the plane that disappeared back in 2014, 8th of March 2014. When that plane disappeared, don't think that the Malaysian government issued the death certificates immediately. According to international law, if a person is missing, presumed dead, there is a waiting time of up to 7 years before you can legally declare them dead. So if you take that as an example, you imagine the wills cannot work because there's no death certificate. The power of attorney is a lifesaver. So I want you to understand the difference between a will and a power of attorney. Now, in the beginning, I told you about the problems when someone passes away. The topic is called succession planning in advance. I'm going to give you housekeeping tips. Now, these are the housekeeping tips I'm going to give to you. Please note there will be a form for you to complete at the end, and I will send you certain documents for your reference. But please pay particular attention to the next slide. This is where it can make a huge difference to your family if something was to happen, God forbid. Number one, joint accounts are blocked. We know that. And if you still don't understand, please ask me again. Joint accounts are blocked. I cannot do anything. It will be blocked the moment the bank is informed. Now, somebody asked me, how does the bank find out if somebody passed away? Well, there could be one of three reasons. Number one, the HR. If you're working for a company, excuse me, you're working for a company, and I'm not limiting this to DHL. I'm just saying, if you're working for a company, there's an HR department. One of the obligations of the HR is to inform the bank where the salary is going into if the employee leaves the company or if the employee passes away. So you imagine if the employee passes away, the HR has to tell the bank. Now, when the bank is informed, they push the button, freeze the account. Simple. Let's say reason number two, that you have a mortgage. I'm hoping you have life insurance. Now, in order for the life insurance to clear the mortgage, you have to tell the bank the person has died so they can claim the life insurance. So when you tell that the bank to block the account, because don't forget, if you don't tell the bank that even the credit card charges, payments, late fees, and other charges, even the mortgage installments, whatever it is, it will start adding up. So telling the bank they have to freeze the account so that they can then start settling the liabilities. So the moment you tell the bank, they freeze the account. The third reason, or the way they find out, is when you're canceling the visa. Many people don't know this, but all the government departments are connected. The police, the hospital, central bank, immigration, and guess what? The embassy. Because the death certificate has to circulate through these departments, so they will find out. So don't think bank accounts won't be blocked. I just can't tell you how long it will take because it's case by case. So when it comes to bank accounts, you have a joint account, say Bank A. Now, what I'm about to tell you, banks won't give you this information. So, joint accounts is in Bank A. The wife should have a single account in Bank B. So, please write this down. If you get confused, I hope you don't, because I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Joint account, Bank A. Wife has a single account, Bank B. Husband has a single account, Bank C. And then children, bank account or Bank D, D for Delta. So A, B, C, D. Why am I asking you? Why am I telling you to have the accounts in that fashion? Well, if the husband passed away, the joint account is blocked. Bank C is blocked, but Bank B and D is not blocked. I say that again. Husband pass away, the joint account Bank A is blocked, single account Bank C is blocked, Bank B and D, nobody's blocking it. So I mean the wife has an account. There should be emergency money there. And I'm saying this from my experience. If the employer is going to pay any life assurance to the spouse, she needs a receiving bank account. That's why it's important she has a separate account in a different bank. Now, if the wife passes away, the joint account is blocked, Bank B is blocked, but Bank C and D is not blocked. I don't know who's going to go first, husband or the wife. Now, if you look at in terms of probability, the husband will go first because life assurance is always more expensive for the male than it's for the female. Because according to their statistics, I quote, their statistics, the man goes before the woman. So A, B, C, D. Do I open bank accounts? No, I don't get involved. You want to go to this bank, that bank, good luck to you. I'm not saying which bank you should be going to. We're not tied to any particular bank. It's up to you, but keep it A, B, C, D. So if the joint account is blocked, the spouse, the surviving spouse, has a single account in their name. So they want to make payments, receive payments, it's there. Number two, for the women who are working in particular, if you aren't sponsored by your husband, get off your husband's sponsorship and get a separate visa. Unfortunately, majority, I would say about 70% of the working women in the UAE is always under the husband's sponsorship. Now, I know when I give this information, the HR usually gets, they're not happy with this detail. So I'll just say to everyone, if you're working, get a separate visa. Do I offer visas? The answer is no. Number three, life assurance. Why are they freezing your bank accounts to settle debts and liabilities? So can I tell you a debt is your credit card, your car loan, personal loan, utilities. Everything's got to be paid. That's why they block the account. So if you are even having a credit card, they'll block your current account to clear your credit card first. So life assurance, I don't sell it. I recommend it. Number four. Now, this is the biggest problem. You'll be surprised. Husband and wife don't share information on what they own. You'd be so shocked. There is no transparency. I'm dealing with cases the wife doesn't even know the ATM the code to take money out, the PIN number. The wife doesn't know. And I feel asking the wife, are you sure you're married to him? You don't even know his PIN number. But you know, in reality, it is a fact that people don't share information. We have prepared a 45-page document, which I will share with everyone. You need to write down what you own. Now, please know, I don't want this document back. This is something you complete, you share, and you update. In the will, when I'm drafting the will, I'm saying all properties, all bank accounts, all stocks, shares, investments, everything I quote is all. But to define all, you need to make an inventory, a list of assets. So this is something you should be doing today. You should be making or preparing a roadmap to your family what happens post death. Where's the money situated? What is the internet banking credentials? Where is the bank statements? Where is the title deed? Who to contact? Your HR telephone number, any email ID, any relationship manager contact detail, even the accountant, the lawyer, even anyone. You need to make a file so that the family knows who to contact. Because in reality, husband don't even tell the wife don't even tell the husband. Having a will only dictates who the beneficiaries are. But if I'm going to write down where the money is, you'll be updating the will every 6 months. So making a list is your job. Point number 5 is linked to number 1, having a savings account for your children. Number 6, complete all beneficiary forms. So if you're working, it doesn't have to be limited to DHL. You're working for any company, complete the beneficiary form, make sure it's up to date. This is your job, not the HR. When you join a company, the HR will give you some forms to complete. However, your circumstances changes, HR is not going to know. So it's your job to complete the beneficiary form. Always have your marriage and children's birth certificates fully attested, which most of you have done if you are living on having visas in the UAE. Point number 8, this is more for self-employed people, or if you're doing a partnership with someone, like two people buying a property together and you're having some sort of business deal, make sure you document this. We have the Just Wills app, which you can download, and this app will assist you with in terms of sharing information with the family. However, our primary focus is on 10 and 11, a power of attorney and a will. What information is required to draft a will? I just need passport copy and local ID, husband, wife, and children, the family. Then if you're having children, who are the guardians? Remember, guardians are temporary and permanent. Executor, who's going to the court to execute the will, and how you want the estate to be distributed. So husband can say, I'm leaving everything to the wife and the children. But the wife will say, wait a minute, I'm not giving my money to my husband. If I die, he'll probably get married again. So I rather give the money to my children. So that's the distribution. You need to tell me that. These are a list of other services we offer: document attestation services, translations, living wills, business succession services. Everything is there in terms of the services we offer. Like I said, I can give you a copy of all these documents if you fill in the form so that I can send you the details. Now, just some very quick FAQs, and then I'll go through the financials and we'll wrap up this presentation. Can a will from overseas work locally in the UAE? You know, the answer is yes. With the Abu Dhabi Corp, it's very expensive and time consuming. So better you draft and register a will locally. When do you need to update the will? When there is a major change in your circumstances. So today you're single, you get married, or you're married, you get divorced. You're changing the people in the will. You need to update the will. Can the executor be a guardian? Now, note, guardian is looking after your children. Executors going to the court to execute the will. Can they be the same person? The answer is yes. However, I usually recommend you keep them separate. What is the age of maturity? Well, personally, it should be 25, because if you give £100,000, dollars, euros, dirhams to a 21-year-old while in the middle of university, I think we all know what they're going to end up doing. And for me, from my experience, I think the age of maturity for a male is different of that for that of a female. But this is just my opinion. It should be 25. Is there a concept of a joint will? No, it's single or mirror. Does a will need to be in English or Arabic? Bilingual, half English, half Arabic. Is a list of assets attached mentioned in the will? No. You keep it separate. How long it takes to draft a will? 5 to 6 days. Is there any inheritance tax in the UAE? Currently, there is no tax. Where do I keep a list of assets? You keep it with the family. Technically, it should be the executor who's going to the court, which is usually a family member. Can I prepare a codicil for future changes? No, you need to update the will. Now, are debts passed on to the family? No. But I'm sorry to say, banks do play unethical games to make the family feel like they are responsible for the debt. But let me tell you one thing, when they freeze the account, all they can do is take the money out their account. Let's take an example. You owe the bank 150 dirhams, and there's only 100 dirham in the account. So they block the account, they keep the 100, but they cannot chase the family for 50 dirhams. In reality, they are chasing, but this is incorrect. It's illegal. Can the will cover global assets? Yes. Case by case, it can work. Can a Muslim prepare a will? Yes. 100% they can do what they like with their money. Sorry. Do you need a lawyer to execute a will? No. Anyone can do it. Now, do all assets passed to the husband from the wife? I told you before, if the wife passed away, the husband only takes 25%. Her parents will take 1/6 each and the balance to the children. What happens if you have a special needs child? You appoint a special trustee. Where can you open up minor accounts for children? Anywhere, everywhere. You'll be shocked. Every bank in the UAE opens up savings account for children, but it's very disappointing that they don't market this because there's no money, there's no financials in it. Excuse me. Power of attorney, is it local or global? For your information, a power of attorney is only local. So if you have assets in country B, you need to make a power of attorney for B. So I am only talking about UAE. So if you have assets in Qatar, you make a separate power of attorney there. Beneficiary form versus nominee form. You must understand there's a fundamental difference between these two. A beneficiary form makes the person named in the form as a beneficiary. That person will receive the funds. A nominee makes the person a caretaker, not a beneficiary. Not informing the banks of death and using the power of attorney, don't do it. It is fraud. Can I declare my domicility in the will? Yes. So if you're a European national, you're worried about inheritance tax, you can put your declare your domicility on the will. Which courts are registering wills for Muslims? It's the UAE federal courts. Can you appoint an executor for a business only? Yes. Question 27, we ignore, that is only for business owners. Joint account versus single account. Remember, joint account.
Revamp that will, would it then be an additional fee of 4,000 dirhams, or how does that work? How do we make amendments, and is each amendment a cost, or?
The court fees will be applicable again. Our drafting fees, we can discuss that, but it really depends on what changes you're going to do. Because 80%, when people come back to me and say they want to make a change, then believe it or not, there is no change to make because the will has factored in already the what do you call it? The changes that you maybe you'll be thinking to make. For example, if your asset list change, you don't need to update the will. If your address changes, you don't update the will. Yes, if you get divorced, you will have to update the will because that's a major change in your circumstances.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
Question with regards to, maybe I didn't listen enough, but does this apply to also the local entity or anything you own in Dubai only?
What do you mean local in Dubai? Sorry,
So for example, if I'm from, say, Nigeria, yeah,
okay.
does it apply just to what I own in Dubai, or it can also apply to what I own in my
I
home
told
country?
you we can cover global assets. However, this is a case by case basis. But don't forget one thing you must understand. I'm drafting the will in English and Arabic. Now, if English is the common language in or acceptable language in your home country, then yes. But if I was, for example, you want to have the will covering your assets in Germany or in Europe, then, you know, the amount of money you're going to spend translating the document into the local language is just better that you obviously, what do you call it, make a separate will in that jurisdiction then.
Thank you.
So if English is the spoken language in your country and acceptable documents for the courts, then yes, we can do that then.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions, please?
I have added in the chat. Yeah, sorry to take it to I guess a less emotional topic, but important. How much does it typically cost to submit? I believe there's a difference between Dubai, DIFC, and Abu Dhabi court, for example, in terms of registration, and how much typically are the fees for a company like yours?
Our drafting fee is 2,000 dirham plus whatever the court fees are. So if you go to DIFC, it will be 2 plus 10, 12,000 dirham. If you go to Abu Dhabi, it will be 2 plus 1,500, 3,500 dirham. If you go to Dubai court, it's 2 plus 3, 5,000 dirham. Look, if I can just be blunt, Abu Dhabi is the highest court in the UAE. It's the cheapest. And for me, it's the fastest. So I recommend Abu Dhabi court. However, once we have a one-to-one, if you want to take the matter further, we can discuss the courts in more detail. All I'm recommending now, if you look at the group chat, sorry, this is being typed out as we speak. If you look at the group chat, if you fill in the Google form, I will send you the presentation, a copy of the inventory that you can write all your assets down, and I'll send you some information on the court fees and the registration. I only recommend Abu Dhabi. Well, when I say only, I only prefer Abu Dhabi because when it comes to spending money, everyone is cost conscious. So you're spending 10,000 dirham with DIFC court when you can spend 1,500 dirham with Abu Dhabi court. Obviously, it's not a, you know, it's not a brain teaser. It's just something I recommend. Just go to Abu Dhabi court. For us, we are registered with all three courts. It makes no difference. But it's up to you which court you want to go to. I just say Abu Dhabi court.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, please?
You're okay. You're going up.
Hi there. I had two questions. I have put them in the meeting chat. One, can a will be challenged? And second, mirror will is for the same amount.
Yeah, the mirror will. Look, first of all, it depends if the assets are in single or joint names. If it's single, you need one will. If it's joint, you need two wills, one for the husband, one for the wife. So the fees are doubled.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please? Remember one thing, the housekeeping tips I've shared with you, this is something you should be doing today. So this is something you need to sit down with your family, make a list of assets, make a roadmap, open the bank accounts, life assurance, check the beneficiary form. These housekeeping tips is something you should be doing anyway. Any other questions, please?
Wills can be challenged.
Sorry?
Any will can be challenged.
Any will can be challenged. Anyone can challenge it, but when it goes to the court will accept the will. But it doesn't mean it doesn't stop you. I mean, the case I spoke to you about where the daughter was very angry that her father willed everything to her stepmother. She said, I want to challenge your will. I said, good luck. I said, go to the court. You will spend money, time. You will tell the court that my father gave everything to my stepmother. I didn't get a penny. The court will say, well, that's not our problem. I mean, respectfully, when there was no will registry system, people were saying that why are you applying the Sharia law? We don't want the Sharia law. We want our wishes. And now the court is saying, you have your wishes. Now people's complaining we want the Sharia law back because we are not getting any money. So I'm sorry. Once the will is registered, it is a double-edged sword because if a happily married couple, the man suddenly wills everything to his mistress and wants to deprive his wife and children out of the inheritance, if the court is accepting it, it's not the court fault. It's the person who is making the will. He is giving the money to the mistress. He is not giving anything to his wife and children. So the point I'm trying to get to, you make a will, you register the will, the court will accept it. Somebody wants to challenge a will. Let's say it's even the wife saying, I'm not getting a penny, you're giving everything to the mistress. The court said, we are sorry. The will is there, we will respect the will. So you can't have it both ways. So once the will is registered, it is down to you to update the will if your circumstances changes. Hope that explains.
Yes. Thank you.
You've mentioned on the housekeeping rules that to have separate visas, if, say, for example, if there is an employment visa. So how would this work if someone's having a golden visa for their family members as well?
Look, at the end of the day, first of all, visas are an immigration matter. So whatever the immigration laws are is nothing to do with the will. These are two separate matters. With the golden visa, from my understanding, that if the husband pass away, they will not cancel the wife and children's visas, but this is subject to change. So I just say if you can get a separate visa, get it. However, from my understanding, that the golden visas will not get cancelled. They will allow the visa to run its course, run its term, sorry. And then on renewal, you will need to cancel it or renew it. Hope that explains the answers the question.
Got it. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, please? Look, if you look at the group chat, there should be a Google form link there. If you open it, fill in your details. I will gladly send you the information. And then if you want to take the matter further, we can have a one-to-one session and take it from there then.
So thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. I believe we don't have more questions. So just to let the team know, I can upload the file here because I've been able to download the file. So then maybe each of you can send it to the email provided on the group chat.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then we can take it
So-
from there then.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just to add, Sarika is here. So maybe Sarika, would you like to add something?
No. Thank you, Mr. Maria. Appreciate your time and all the information you have shared with us. And one of the most important tip what you have shared is employees should update their beneficiary form. This is a challenge what we face.
This is a very big problem, if you don't mind me
Yes.
saying, Sarika, and no disrespect to the HR. I just feel like the employees don't realize the importance, and there is a communication breakdown because when an employee joins a company, his circumstances changes. You as the HR do not know. So before you
Yes.
know it, the person has got divorced, got married, and this happened, that happened. And then when they pass away, you're looking at the beneficiary form, and then guess what? That form is not going to work because the beneficiary who was nominated is no more. Then you need a
Absolutely.
court, then you need a court order. Then that money goes into the bank account of the deceased. This is where the problems start, but there's nothing I can do. I mean, it's like with my clients, we've drafted thousands of wills. How do I know if somebody has passed away? How do I know if somebody has got married or they got divorced? Now, even I'm telling them it's your responsibility to update us. It's not my responsibility. I won't know if you've left the country or not. But unfortunately, I just feel like no matter how much you try to explain, people don't act upon it, and then they find out the hard way then.
I have a question. So the beneficiary form is what employees fill when they join the company generally, and it's the employee's responsibility to update it when it is required. But if there
Correct.
is no change, in case there is no change in the beneficiary, what will be the validity of that form? Suppose I joined maybe in 20 in maybe 1995, and there is no change, and the beneficiary details, everything is correct. So will that
Remember,
1995 beneficiary?
remember one thing, that the beneficiary form is only covering the life assurance. The
Yeah.
the gratuity follows the labor law. So you can't give the gratuity as per the beneficiary form. You can't pay that to the family because the gratuity is governed by labor law. The life assurance is following the beneficiary form. The will covers everything, whether it's the gratuity, the bank account, the guardianship of the children, the property, anything and everything. And don't forget, there's no guarantee you're working for that company tomorrow. Maybe you change jobs. Maybe you go to another company. So the will covers everything you own at the time of death. However, in your lifetime, complete the beneficiary forms.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
perfect. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice
you
day,
very much.
everyone.
Thank you all for
Thank you
joining.
all. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Have
Bye.
a good day
Have a
all.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.